Okay, so let's do it. So today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic. Actually, it's about the recent gen. The last few years talking about something very outdated. Okay, so let's start. Roll in the intro. Okay, so many of us actually play games on consoles. Like we have the Xbox One, the Nintendo, and the PlayStation, and we have actually seen a very common thing that when the consoles just came out, like in 2014, the graphics were not that good. Like they were really good. Like they look like the pre-rendered outputs that the previous generation could afford, but over the years, the graphics of the games are really evolving. Like a game from 2014, like Assassin's Creed Unity or Far Cry 4, doesn't really look as good as The Last of Us Part 2 that came out a few months back or The Ghost of Tsushima. So why is it like this? Today I'll be answering that question. Well, when a console first comes out, like when it is just in the market, like in 2013 or 2014 or whatever, maybe for the regions when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out, they are not really that much optimized. The hardware and the software are really not that optimized to provide the max output that a console and the hardware can really give out. So the software is and the games cannot really reap 100% of the total memory and the total graphics output, the CPU that is built into the console to give out the maximum performance and the maximum graphics that it can. So, like for the PlayStation 3, if I speak of the PlayStation 3, to be honest, the PlayStation 3 when came out, like in 2006, the operating system of the system used to consume 120 megabytes of memory, but after the final update for the PlayStation 3 system, it only consumes 50 megabytes of memory. So there's a 70 megabyte chunk that is being given to the developers to provide an extra performance in the games. And it's very obvious that Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2007 doesn't necessarily look like Call of Duty Ghosts, which came out in 2013. There are both great games, but the graphics and the performance really is quite a big jump. So let us first look at what is actually the thing. First, let us see Far Cry 4 from 2014, its graphics and how it looked.
He's down there! You are going to die here! I'm going to give a piece of you to each of my children!
Okay, now let us look at a mid-cycle game for the PlayStation 4. It's Call of Duty World War II, and let's look at it.
No! Push forward! Into the trench! Hurry!
Going to look at a graphical and gameplay masterpiece which came out this year. It's The Last of Us Part 2, and let's have a look at it.
We're not going back!
All the gameplay that has been captured on the PlayStation 4 original that came out in 2013 and 2014 for some regions, and the graphical upgrade is quite obvious. The Far Cry 4 doesn't really look as good as the Call of Duty World War II, and these two games do not actually look as good as The Last of Us Part 2. Why is it so? The PlayStation 4, originally the PlayStation 4 has a weaker CPU. We all know that thing, that the weaker CPU of the PlayStation 4 limits its power as compared to the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation Slim, which actually learned from the PlayStation 4 and actually put a better CPU in it. The same problem was with the Xbox One, but it was with the GPU of the Xbox One. The GPU of the Xbox One ran at 1.31 teraflops, while the GPU of the PlayStation 4 ran at 1.84 teraflops. So the games that were developed for the PlayStation 4, the developers had to put an GPU calculation, the GPU part, the games which were the works which had been done by the CPU were actually done out by the GPU, and in vice versa, actually the opposite happened in case of the Xbox One, where the games had to actually do all the graphical output part, the rendering part for the CPU, as compared to the because it had a less powerful GPU. So all over the years, there has been mid-cycle upgrades to the PlayStation 4, as the PlayStation 4 Pro came out and the PlayStation 4 Slim, which was a budget version of the PlayStation. But whatever happened, the software, there have been numerous software updates. Well, there is recent update is 7.55, and it runs the Orbis OS that is powered by the Unique-like, and is powered by the FreeBSD system. So the numerous upgrades that has been happening to the software, especially the hardware, and the games are actually getting, the developers are actually getting more and more resources to build in their games. Initially the PlayStation would give 4 GB of memory to the developers to use for the games, but now it has turned out to more, and it has gone up to 4.5 GB by the help of limiting the software and the operating system. Even in the PlayStation 4, a more 1 GB of DDR3 memory was implemented into the system, so as the background applications like Netflix and Spotify, while not affecting the operating system and the game's performance on the GDDR5 memory that actually runs the operating system, and the graphical output like the games or the rendering that happens besides games like 4K. If you're watching a Ultra UHD movie, it has quite a lot of rendering to be calculated, which is done on the GDDR5 memory. So in this way, the graphics actually develops from what it was at 2014 to what it is at 2020. So to conclude, I can tell that it is a more optimized system, that actually comes out as a result of its years of life cycle that it passes through. So the optimization between the hardware and the software and the games really improves over the years. That actually gives the extra edge in the performance to the games. But this performance is really not very much to see. Like if you see a Far Cry 4, as if I saw the Far Cry 4 and Call of Duty World War II and The Last of Us Part 2, it is very minute study will give out that the difference that actually is seen. The difference is very minute because the hardware is actually the same. That is why we had to get a PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S hardware, to meet the increasing hardware requirements of the games that were coming out. Like in 2016-17, the games that were coming out to compete with PC and to look as good as a PC, they had to improve to bring out the PlayStation 4 Pro, which was in the last generation too. The Xbox 360e and the PlayStation 4 Super and the PlayStation 3 Super Slim and the Super Extra Slim, all kinds of models that came out were actually upgrade to the storage capacity and some functioning, the CPU and the graphics unit, to actually provide that extra room for development and the room for development to the games and to the developers. So I hope you liked the video. I am CyberTech Talk, and I will meet you in the next video. Bye.